Okay, we're now back live and thank you for your patience if you're watching the meeting from the comfort of your home. So council met in camera. And the following outcomes were in camera meeting minutes of January 16th were adopted as circulated and direction was provided to staff in regards to operation manager matters. Sorry. So the motion comes forward from Councillor Jameson, seconded by Councillor Fody, that council rise and report from in camera and that the mayor's report following outcomes from in camera minutes of January 13th, 2023 were adopted as circulated and direction was provided to staff. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Okay. So next item on our committee of the whole agenda is the adoption of the agenda, and the motion comes forward from Councillor Jameson, seconded by Councillor Maybe, that the agenda be adopted and circulated. Any errors, omissions, additions, deletions? I see none, so I'll call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? And it's carried. Number 5 on the agenda, delegations presentations. There are none today. And the next item is corporate services report SR-02623, allocation of 2022 casino revenue. Motion comes forward from Councillor Fody, seconded by Councillor Jameson. I think that's your signature. Sorry, it was a bit of I can usually make it out, but that was a toughie. That the committee of the whole recommends that council approve the transfer of $670,652 in casino revenue to the Fleet Machinery and Equipment Reserve Fund. Discussion on this motion. Go ahead, Councillor Maybe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was wondering if the treasurer could explain why it's going to go to that fund only and not anywhere else for the general purpose of it. Thank you.
Through your worship. So as I mentioned in the report, I was proposing that money might be allocated to that reserve to cover the pumper truck, as I noticed at discussion through budget that maybe council would wish to defer having to borrow. So if we put this money in that reserve, we could probably pay for the 2022 purchase of the new fire pumper truck.
And we got a happy councillor. Any further comments or questions? Go ahead, Councillor Oakey.
Thank you, Your Worship. And through you, when does money have to be paid? How long will we retain this money? This is my usual bugbear. I admit it.
Sorry, through you. So what money, like we've already paid for the pumper truck. I have to fund it now.
Okay, so this money's leaving imminently.
The money's gone. It's just right now it's not funded. So like today I'm working on entries that will fund the capital purchases made through the year.
Okay, so we're not holding on to funds to pay later. This is gone. Okay.
Do we pay the invoices when they come due through the year? But at year end, once all the invoices are posted, we just do the entries to fund them, to fund it and to figure out where we're at.
Whether we don't.
What gets carried forward. I'll be bringing a report hopefully in March committee of the whole, which will outline what we did spend that year, like what the totals for 2022 capital were, what was not spent, what we were asking to carry forward, anything that was over budget. We'll be asking for approval to fund those amounts, and I'll be asking for council's approval to use this money for the pumper truck, assuming that I can, based on the reserve fund continuities, which I think I will be able to.
So good news. Any further comments or questions? Just to say that I'm glad that we were shy on what we anticipated for revenue, which helps us in the end. And this will hopefully make our long-term financial picture look better as time wears on if we don't have to borrow as much. So thank you very much for those options. No further discussion. I'll call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? And we're carried. Thank you, Madam Treasurer. 6.2 Corporate Services Report SR-028-23 Facility Use Policy. Motion comes forward by Councillor Maybe, seconded by Councillor Fody, that the committee of the whole recommends that council grant 3 readings and final passage to bylaw number 23-015, being a bylaw to establish a facility use policy in the township of Leeds in the Thousand Islands. Discussion on this motion. Go ahead, Councillor Lackey.
Thank you, Worship, and through you. I'm just wondering in a section there, we do the insurance with the user having to go and get liability insurance when in fact we have it in there that if they don't or can't provide it, we will. Why wouldn't we just do that anyway if we have to charge a fee, we do, but it would sure simplify things, I think.
Through your worship. So unfortunately, it's not quite that simple. So there's a couple of different things, I guess, to look at. First of all, if the entity that's renting the facility already has insurance they've already paid for, then we would ask that they provide that. If not, we will look under our facility use policy we have, and there's different categories of activities. So depending on what they're renting the facility for, it costs different amounts of money. And there are certain activities that don't get covered at all. So it's not just a black and white of you rent our facility, you get covered by insurance. And we do need to do some communication around that, because I don't think that's been made clear to a lot of people who use the facilities. But what we are trying to do is clean that up, and hopefully, like, because right now we don't have a policy at all. Through adopting this policy, I'm looking at the general rates and fees bylaw, cleaning up some of the processes and then trying to communicate better with residents and users that when they do rent our facility, we do have this policy that a lot of times they will be able to get covered under it if they don't have their own coverage, but it's not like a guarantee. Like, there are certain parameters, and then we have to track that, and it goes back to our insurance company and we have to pay for it.
Councillor Jameson.
Just speaking in support of the need to make sure, as you said, I support the treasurer in her comment about being very clear with prospective users about all of this. Now that we have one, I'm glad to see we have the policy, but I know the insurance is something that, you know, up in the Bay has been a bit of a difficult challenge for us. So I'm glad we have the policy, but I look forward to some really clear guidelines for users over and above. Yes.
But yeah, and honestly, I wish it was clear, but we struggle constantly with trying to understand the insurance aspect as well. And so we're constantly asking questions of our insurance provider, but we are working on it, and hopefully we will be able to provide clearer direction. But I apologize. It is confusing, and there's so many, every time we ask a question, we seem to get a slightly different answer from the insurance provider. So
I'm taking the fifth on this. So any further comments or questions in regards to the facility use policy? I'll call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? And we're carried. Just one comment to be made in regards to our insurance policy and the carrier intact. It's called something else now. Not Frank Cowan. It's intact now. Deborah Murphy, who was our longtime contact at that company, who has been an immense resource to us over the years, over some of the other claims that we've had. She retired. As of Roma, I got to see her off. She was done within 6 days, spending some time with her grandchildren. And she probably won't ever hear this, but I know that she was a great help to us when we first came into office for the first term, and some of the challenges that we faced there. And we really appreciated her efforts to help us along those rocky roads. So all the best to Deborah in her retirement. Next item, 6.3 fire truck SR-03023, purchase of a 2023 pumper truck. Just to be clear, this is separate than the one that the treasurer was just talking about. So, okay. Moved by Councillor Olkey, seconded by Councillor Correll, that the committee of the whole recommends that council authorize staff to proceed with the purchase of a 2023 Pierce Maxi Saber pumper from Commercial Equipment Company in the amount of $845,072.50 plus net HST. Discussion on the 2023 pumper. Go ahead, Councillor Lackey, then Councillor Fody.
Thank you, Worship, and through you to the chief. Chief, does this come as needed, or will we be putting more money to specialize it for our needs specifically?
Through your worship, this comes basically the same as the last truck came, minus the hose. We've got some of the pieces in there, but we ordered all brand new hose on the last truck. This is without the hose on it, which is about another 30,000. But I have capital money in this year to switch out some of that hose as well.
Thank you. Councillor Fody.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to the fire chief, you may have just answered my question. Is this truck an exact duplicate to the one we just received in the fall?
Just about through your worship. Yes, just about exact same. In the last one, we were able to make a few different changes with it. We were able to take the foam system out of the last truck. This truck, being a demo, they said, well, it doesn't matter if we buy it or somebody else. They just said, this is what you get. This is how it goes. And in order to save that 30,000, we'd end up spending more by building one and having to wait out that term. So basically it is a match to this last truck, a couple of different changes in it, but nothing that much different. So to have that truck in the fleet, the same as the last truck, it works well with, it's a Pierce truck. It's got the same features on it. It's got the same tires, same layout as our other truck. So training makes much easier to train and all of that with that.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Morel, you have a comment?
We buy so many fire trucks, I lose track sometimes. The 2028, is that a new fire truck coming, Chief? 2028 there, I saw in the financial plan, a new truck, or is that incorrect?
I'll have to look at the plan off the top of my head.
Okay, so at this time, you're thinking this truck is sort of the last that we'll require for a while?
Well, the next pumper for 20 years is would be 20.
28.
No, I think the 2010 is the next pumper. Is last year. Is the oldest pumper now, sorry.
Okay.
So we've got another bit of time.
Chief, without putting you on the spot, and I know I've sort of brought this up before, I'm reading, and all day I spent reading fire underwriter survey data. And it says here under some of the requirements, of getting level 1, level 2, level 3, 3B, which I believe we are 3B. Is that correct? And then it goes, the only difference, like to get a number 4, it says here, it's important to note that the absolute minimum number of auxiliary firefighters is considered to be 10. And it says, and the maximum age of apparatus that can be considered is 30. Now, I know consistently, and I don't want to put you on the spot here, but I know consistently we have been told that it's 20. And I know we've had an open discussion that, well, sometimes the vehicle looks great, but the parts and pieces. But we're starting to discuss items that are worth almost $1 million. So 20 years is very concerning to this small community that we live in. And I know we have 4 fire stations, which requires a tremendous number of vehicles. So it would be acting as a fiduciary for our taxpayers. I don't need it tonight, but what is the difference between 20 years and 30 years as stated in their own documentation? It's unclear to me, and I'll bring this up just about every time we buy a new fire truck because of the price of them. They're not 500,000, they're $1 million. The next one we buy will be over $1 million probably. And I think that our taxpayers, that's a lot of money. And I really do believe we have to start. I don't think it's going to decrease our readiness for fire. I also read all of the standard, what's it called there? The pumping capabilities, whether it's standard or above standard. And we hit above standard. I also read the letters that we received from the FUS on that, or the fire service, so many gallons per hour, which you're very familiar with. So we're spending a lot of money on fire trucks. They seem to come to us every year. So I would just like in the future, maybe you could bring forward a few pages on what's the difference between 20 and 30 years in that report that or not the report, I'm reading it straight off their website. Thank you.
Okay. And just to be clear, I think the 20-year guideline that has been used in the past, we've actually surpassed that. There's been a few of these trucks that have been into use 23 years, 24 years.
Through your worship, yes, the last pumper that we replaced, we were 2 years out of date on that. And that 20 years is based on frontline pumpers. Tankers are different. Tankers are 25 years. Everything has a criteria that goes with that. So we're actually running tankers right now that are out of date, but they're not frontline tankers. They're an auxiliary behind. So we've got lots of trucks that are old And we have a large fleet because we have a very large municipality.
Okay, Counselor Maybe, and then Counselor Oakley, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and to the fire chief. A couple of things, a couple of points. One, that the north will have matching trucks. The south already have matching trucks in their capability or the actual body style, right? So it does, because the south, looking after the 401 ends up down there a lot. Secondly, with the asset management, and as we're well aware, we're well into that, this gives us a great opportunity to actually look forward and book the next truck so it can be custom built for us. So it's 3 years, 4 years that you have to order this. So the asset management will fill that gap quite well. So we're not just buying off the shelf with whatever we can get, correct?
Through your worship, yes, it would be my plan to try to look at going that direction. We do have, unfortunately, a number of tankers that are coming due rather quickly over the next few years. So my whole plan is to hopefully be able to say mass produce those, as far as come up with a plan on what we'd like to have in that and go out and kind of pre-order 3 over the next X amount of years to change those over, but have one standard style in time. That's not this year or next.
Okay, you went from not borrowing for a truck to stroking out here on the side table.
That's kind of the asset management thing. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think the point being made by Councillor Gorell is a good one, in that it would be good to sort of see a staggering of what vehicles we have and where they plug into the asset management plan just for fire. And whether there's an opportunity to stretch that out and buy us a little more time, or if we're over the barrel. Because I do know part and parcel of the reason we have some pumpers or trucks in general that are older is because they just weren't replaced because we didn't spend the money, which is fine, but it just delays the inevitable. So,
And through your worship, the director of operations and I have gone through the asset management plan forwards and backwards more than once, trying to see if we can stretch those out so that we're not
on top of one another.
hurting.
Councillor Oakley and then Councillor Fody.
Thank you, Your Worship. And this was something I was going to raise in Business Arising, but might be better here. We're talking about planning and replacing trucks and things. From the Roma conference we were just at, looks like our whole world is going to change over with electrification. All the types of vehicles we've been running, all the power plants we've been running. 2035 is the magic year. It's over. You know, we'll probably see 5 nuclear plants in the province by then, 5 new ones. And no more gasoline, no more diesel engines. How is that going to affect your fleet? Or can you say at this point?
Through your worship, Councillor Gorell won't like to hear the answers on these ones. It's unbelievably higher based on pumpers. I think you're well over 1.5 million right now on a totally electric vehicle, and they haven't been around enough right now. They don't know, not that they don't know enough about them, but there's too many variables right now. They're still running diesel motors in part of the services on those. So there is not very many in Canada currently. So it's kind of a wait and see for me. I'm interested to see where it goes, but for right now, that's not in my scope for.
Councillor Fody.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you. More of an observation and in lines with the deputy mayor's comments. I think the temperature last Friday and Saturday night will cool, pardon the pun, the zest to go electric. I have some colleagues in the Ottawa area and family, and the lineups to use those recharging stations was bizarre, considering there's only a small percentile electric vehicles out there now. The point I wanted to make, I think the timeframes that are given us, be it the primary pumper and such, is gathered via our insurance companies on factual data. Case in point, a large fire on a farm that our department was front and center because it was our jurisdiction last June, I believe. And we had a lot of other outlying fire companies there. I just happened to go there after work as more moral support for the people that owned the farm because I know them personally. While I was there, our primary pumper failed, shut right down. If we had not had another primary pumper on site from an adjoining municipality, it wouldn't look good for a moment. So, and that was our borrowed time that the insurance company had allotted us. So I couldn't help but notice at that moment that these guidelines on times for primary pumpers and tankers and such are likely pretty accurate. Thank you.
Any further comments or questions in regards to the motion that's on the floor is in regards to the purchase of a 2023 Pierce Maxi Saber pumper from Commercial Equipment Company. So if there's any other comments in regards to the purchase of that. Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion at hand, please signify. All those opposed, and we're carried. Okay. Next item, 6.4 operations report SR-02723 2023 private road grant program maintenance stream. And the motion comes from Deputy Mayor Olkey, seconded by Councillor Gorell, that the committee of the whole recommends that council approve the distribution of 25,000 in private road grants maintenance stream approved in the 2023 operating budget as per the attached allocation form. Discussion on that motion. I see none. Oh, Councillor Fody got in before the buzzer.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to our Director of Planning, I would like to hear the comments from the people making the applications. How do they see this? Are they pleased?
This is just the maintenance stream, not the capital stream, but I'm sure you can comment too.
Sorry, what?
I can repeat.
Thank you.
I said, I would like to hear your comments from the people that make the applications to you. Are they satisfied with what we're offering here?
Actually, good question through your worship. Good question. I haven't received any feedback regarding this. I know that it's been splashed out there regarding the fact that it's been doubled now and we're going to have a capital stream. There is interest in that capital stream. I've been requested to come out and meet with people on their private lanes already to have a look at what they're proposing and give them a sense of, what would be approved, what wouldn't be approved. So I think that's really positive, given that we haven't put it on the street yet. This one, people expect the money. They've incorporated this into their budget. It's what they understand. So, last year we received this much money and that's what they expect moving forward, that it's going to be roughly the same, depending on how many applicants we have, obviously. But in terms of the need, looking at the financial records, it looks like most of the lanes are managing themselves fairly well. Last year we had 19 applications and this year we have 24 that had applied. We had one lane that wasn't a lane association, and I've committed to working with them to get them to that point where they can apply for these types of things, especially with the capital stream as well. So I think it seems like a positive process, and I think the residents on the lanes, they appreciate the support from the township, and they see this existing stream as something that they need. It helps balance out the books. And then the capital stream will be that extra little bonus to help them, get their lanes to where they need them to be for emergency services. So in a nutshell, that's what I see.
Okay. Any other comments or questions for the director? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? And we're carried. Thank you. Next item, 6.5 planning report SR-029-23 Municipal Heritage Committee recommendation regarding Park Warden's Cabin, Charleston Lake Provincial Park. Moved by Councillor Gorell, seconded by Deputy Mayor Olkey, that the committee of the whole recommends that council support resolution number MHC 2023.5 of the Municipal Heritage Committee and direct staff to send a letter to the LHC Heritage Planning and Archaeology Inc. indicating that the township has no objection to the removal of the Park Warden cabin at Charleston Lake Provincial Park, and that the township of Leeds and the Thousand Islands receive a copy of the Heritage Impact Assessment for the township records. Discussion on this motion. Go ahead, Councillor Maybe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's unfortunate to see such a heritage cabin. Pictures certainly look like a unique structure, but it's also unfortunate that it wasn't looked after properly to keep it up to date. And with the other three buildings that are in this presentation, the same can be said about them, that without some upkeep, they'll be gone soon too. But again, a little bit of our heritage will be gone when they are. Thank you.
Any further comments or good discussion? Seeing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. Next item on the agenda, 6.6, Planning Report SR 31 23, recommendation for Municipal Heritage Committee, MHC, to establish a working group to review the Municipal Heritage Register and the Heritage Celebration Grant Policy. Moved by Councillor Gorell, seconded by Deputy Mayor Oki, that the Committee of the Whole recommends that Council support the recommendation of the Municipal Heritage Committee to establish a working group to review the Heritage Register and Heritage Celebration Grant Program. And that in accordance with Section 3 of Bylaw number 22-080, being a bylaw to define the mandate and meeting procedures for committees and boards, Council approves the terms of reference for the working group as established in Planning Report SR 31 23. Discussion on the motion. Go ahead, Councillor Lack.
Thank you, Your Worship. I had to make a call today to the Director of Planning to get rid of a few cobwebs for me on this one. I think this is very much needed to distinguish between the register and our list, so that people don't arbitrarily get put on the list. And if they are, in actual fact, it only lasts 2 years. And then if there isn't any appetite to have it moved to the register, then it's gone. There's a lot of pieces of the puzzle that I listened to today, but I think the working group will probably take care of a lot of that for us.
Great. Thank you for your comment. Any further comments? Councillor, maybe you're good? Okay. Okay, go ahead, Councillor Gordon.
Yeah, I sat through that committee meeting, and it was an education in the Municipal Heritage Act, I must say. And I just want to make it clear, and maybe you all already know this, but there's a difference between the list register and then designated properties. And Bill C-23 is what spurred the report. Without going into C-23, it has put some real pressures on all municipalities to review, I guess, the list, and to therefore councils are empowered to, by bylaw, upon receiving information from the heritage committees, what they want to designate. So we've given a 2-year window. That's Bill C-23, move things along here. So this is more than a little important for the heritage, and the members of the committee who were better versed in this, it became clear that the a working group is the way to go. So thanks.
Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. And thank you to the members of that committee and working group for the work to be done ahead. Okay, next item on the agenda is unfinished business. Go ahead, Councillor Maybe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just wondering, our Christmas December 23rd flood on 32 Highway, whether there's any more information about how that's proceeding or any information that is pertinent for this meeting.
I'll direct that to the Director of Operations.
Thank you. Through your worship. I have reached out to the Director of Operations and Engineering with the county. We had an in-person meeting here, and then I had followed up with just some of the action items as a result of our conversation. I did receive a response to him on some of the questions that I had asked, which I would like to take an opportunity to review and give some feedback. So they're aware of the situation. Some of the residents adjacent to the tracks had seen some damage to their property, and they were informed by the county to reach out to CN and put a claim in with them. I believe that the county is doing the same for that situation as well. The work that has been completed on site is not complete. There is more work to be done yet, so they'll be jumping back in there in the spring, I believe, and finishing that work up. And that's sort of where things stand right now, as far as I know.
Okay. Just to say thank you to our Director of Operations in regards to this. He has been extremely diligent with the counties, and we appreciate the county's cooperation because obviously some of the affected individuals we've been dealing with personally, they've come in here, and I am hopeful that CN will not turn a blind eye to their error and judgment, as I'll call it. You know, the nature is a wonderful thing, but when you mess with it either side of the coin, it can come back to bite you. And we got it wholeheartedly, that particular significant weather incident, and then all the other chaos that ensued from there. So any other unfinished business? Seeing none, I'll move forward with other business. Go ahead, Councilor Ramey.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to commend fire department and all the first responders for the incident that happened last Wednesday. Unfortunately, I happened to have a front row seat. I was out in the woods during that time. Train basically stopped almost behind my property. So I did see what was there. I thought it was snow on the front of the train at first. But having given a little bit of direction to the ability to get down on the tracks, it was great to see all the parties come quickly and respond and get the rest of the trains to be stopped. So I commend Chief, your whole group who were there, let alone the ones who were standing by in case of another emergency within our township. So kudos to the whole team for doing the bang up job they did. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Any other business? Go ahead, Councilor Oki.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, just a brief after action report from Roma. Pretty interesting conference. The two things that for me were really salient was all the tension over Bill C-21.
23?
Yes, the building
Yes.
Crisis in southwestern Ontario. And it does seem to be a crisis in southwestern Ontario more than anywhere else. There was probably an attempt to stage some kind of demonstration there, but it fizzled. And some of the activists for that left very crestfallen. But you know, they were passing out their literature and their buttons and things. Canadians don't generally do that kind of grandstanding. But it will be a serious concern going forward with housing in this province. The other thing, and I alluded to it before, was the electrification of the province. A lot of people express shock to see how much power is actually generated by nuclear plants now. The government put up a pie chart. 54% of the electricity you draw in your house is from nuclear plants. 34% is from what we used to call hydro. There's another some 20-odd% that is from natural gas or oil. Coal is gone completely. The green people who are really hepped on renewables like solar and wind, those were mere slivers in the pie. They just aren't producing. So they didn't say a number, but from what I could see, the existing nuclear plants will continue. One is being refurbished. We could see as many as 5 more. You could have a regional nuclear plant in this province by 2035.
Excuse me. Thank you.
And apart from that, it was all very well organized. And thank you very much to our clerk for the excellent organization of getting us there and back. Thank you.
Any other business? Seeing none, we'll move forward with notices of motion. Notices of motion. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you, I guess next week there'll be the notice of motion that I previously mentioned concerning flat roof boathouses. We did have a discussion with our legal team regarding interim control bylaws, and there were a lot of very serious and very interesting consequences from that. So I would like us to continue at least to table the discussion through the notice of motion. I'm not going to read it all. It's available unless I have to.
No,
I don't have to read it.
don't.
Okay, good.
It has to be published
Great.
for the next meeting.
That's fine. Thank you. And I just really want to open that discussion up. I'm not sure where this council would wish to take it, but given what we were told by our legal counsel, the direction would be an interim control bylaw, which interestingly enough, he opened up our eyes to the fact that that can be broader, much broader than simply flat roof boathouses. It can be the study that would be required can be something that we may want to consider for the long-term planning of our waterways, et cetera, of our shoreline residential. So without being too strident, I think it would be good to table that and open up a discussion. And again, recognizing that the only mechanism is that interim control bylaw, which has turned out to be quite a serious issue, as we all heard. So thank you. I'll bring that up next week.
Okay, any other notices of motion? I see none. Okay, next is the mayor's update. So I too attended Roma and was part of a couple of delegations, one with parliamentary assistant in finance in regards to impact assessment. I led a delegation on behalf of the United Counties regarding the phase in and the lack of movement on that. Very much a topic that a number of municipalities are waiting on, but really our delegation wasn't pointing out anything that hadn't already been pointed out by AMO as well. It was discussed from the stage in front of 1,500 delegates, the highest number of delegates Roma has ever seen. It was very timely. There was a lot of issues that were pertinent to, post-COVID recovery, things that we're doing in regards to asset management, short-term rentals, and all of the other delegations that happen along with that. So our impact assessment phase-in request is that the province move forward with that it's not only giving municipalities angst about lacking that tool for planning financially going forward, but also the general consumer who believes that if they bought something amongst the COVID run up, or if they didn't, they think that their values of the houses are going to skyrocket. People don't understand the phase-in process necessarily. They've got a lot of anxiety in regards to what their tax bills are going to look like. We all know that we can set the tax rate here. Doesn't mean that we're going to continue a trajectory. We've made tax increases here because out of necessity, because we haven't had a phase-in since 2019. The only growth that we've seen is building permits, new builds, what have you. So I'm hopeful that the provincial government will move forward with a new phase-in for 2024. And that was the ask. We're hoping to hear something before September from the provincial government in regards to that. Members of council and myself attended the 2023 political update breakfast in Gananoque on the 31st of January. Lots of challenges and opportunities lie ahead for both province and the country. It was great to see three of the councillors there, Councillor Gorell, Councillor Lackey, Councillor Fody, who attended as well. Myself, Mayor of Gananoque, MP Barrett and MPP Clark were all in attendance, and we had some really good discussion and some great questions that came forward. And our clerk was there as well, Clerk Shannon. So we were well represented. There was a number of businesses from the township and some really great questions. So I really appreciate that being live again after COVID. And we thank the Chamber of Commerce for organizing that. Sealy's Bay Frost Fest was very well attended last weekend, despite cold temperatures, the fireworks. Thank you to the councillors who attended. Deputy Mayor Olkey, Councillor Jameson, and Councillor Lackey were there for the fireworks anyways, bundled up warmly. But yet still a number of families with children and came out to see the display, and including the MP and the MPP. So thank you to, I think it's Mark Booker, who is the main organizer there. I know she's very dedicated to Frost Fest, and without individuals like herself, we would not be able to enjoy some wonderful activities such as that. Rockport Winter Carnival is coming up. It's being held from February 8th to the 12th. And so there is a Facebook page, and we'll be sharing that information out as well on our social media channels. Township of Leeds and the Thousand Islands still wants to hear from you in regards to the best way to communicate information. Please take a few minutes to provide us with your feedback by completing our 2023 communication survey. It can be found in the February-March Township Times newsletter and on our website. The deadline to complete the survey is February 21st. We've received 260 responses so far, so the feedback is greatly appreciated. So keep it coming. The more responses we have, the more succinct we can be with how we communicate going forward. So calling all local businesses, the Digital Transformation Grant Program is now accepting applications. The program is focused on providing qualified bricks and mortar small business with digital assessment, online training, and up to $2,500 grant to implement their digital transformation plan. Applications close on September 30th. And I think that's it. I will also say that I will be taking a small vacation as of next week, and I will not be here at council. So we'll be looking to the deputy mayor to run that meeting. I will try to attend virtually, but I will not be here in this seat. So I ask you to be kind. Don't throw things. Don't, send hate mail, that sort of thing. If you can, I appreciate your indulgence. I have a chance to take a trip that wouldn't otherwise happen. So I'm going to take that opportunity. Go ahead.
To you, your worship, was there anything mentioned at Roma concerning broadband? It seems pre-election, a lot was talked about broadband, and post-election, it seems to have gone opaque. And I just wondered if Infrastructure Ontario had any updates on their reverse auction and lots and whatnot. It was supposed to be very transparent. It was going to happen in the spring. Not one peep has come out of Infrastructure Ontario after the Ontario election. I wonder if that was mentioned at Roma.
It was mentioned at Roma, but if memory serves me correctly, Kinga Surma, Minister of Infrastructure, was not in the bear pit, which I found interesting. But the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, our MPP, still does not have answers for us, and he is equally frustrated from the point of view that, as you indicated, it's supposed to be transparent, but yet we still have no idea what lots were actually successfully auctioned off through that internal process. We have no idea what's moving forward, what's not moving forward, what holes we need to try to plug, if any. So perhaps maybe it's time for me to have another call with the minister if I can. Maybe I'll actually get her sequestered out somewhere, right at Charleston Lake, right at the dip, and then see or maybe any other suggestions where there's no cell phone service down Sand Bay Road, maybe somewhere around the Black Rapids, area. So yeah, as much as we laugh and joke about that, it's a serious business when it comes to people not being able to relocate here just because of the lack of connectivity, kids not being able to do online schooling, what have you. So it is the way of the world, and it's great that they say 2025 it's supposed to be up and running, but we've approved cell phone towers here for connectivity, even from a cell phone point of view, and that's doesn't seem to be moving forward either. So the point is duly noted, and we can definitely go back to the minister, and maybe it's a question we need to put in writing. So with the indulgence of council, maybe a question to the minister and to our MPP, specifically asking what the results are and that the lack of communication is not acceptable to us or the township residents, if that's okay. Okay, consensus. Is there anything you wanted to add to that, Deputy Mayor?
Tentatively, Your Worship, because a lot of this stuff is somewhat ephemeral. I had a question from a resident, having heard that ExploreNet was given $240 million. Apparently Sealy's Bay and the Highway 15 corridor is going to be Bell Fiber. The $240 million to net is not to Sealy's Bay, and it'll go towards towers, wherever they set up. Lyndhurst will see tower distribution.
So this is all conjecture, though. This is,
You know, these are things that are going to happen, but not necessarily tomorrow.
but where is that information coming from?
I asked around.
Well, until I hear it from the minister, I'm not, not to say that your sources aren't valid, but I think that we're owed a very direct response from the minister.
The
In
the
regards
next people I'm going to call is ExploreNet directly and see what they're doing with their money.
Good luck.
Yeah, right, I know. We do try.
Yes, absolutely. So upcoming OGRA is happening in April, I believe, this year, instead of the end of February. Is that correct, Director Holiday? OGRA date April? Yeah, so it's April. It's usually at the end of February, but this year it's been moved. So so I will be attending, and I think a couple other members of council have shown interest. So I do find that particular conference very helpful, especially with the boots on the ground type stuff that we do every day. I've learned more about roads than I ever knew that I needed to know, which is a good thing. I always enjoy that particular conference. So no other announcements or updates. So with that, we'll go to adjournment. Moved by Councillor or Deputy Mayor Olkey, seconded by Councillor Burrell, that the committee of the whole adjourn at 7:51 PM. All those in favor? All those opposed? And we're carried. And thank you, everybody.